Welcome to Tech Talk Weekly. This is Bob from Creation Station. This is our show where we find 2 or 3 fun tech stories out there, get you a little bit smarter, hopefully find you some cool library tech thing and send you on your way in all about 15, 20 minutes or so. So today we have Maria Vega from the Northwest Regional Library. Welcome, Maria. How are you doing today?
Fine, thanks. I'm so happy to be here.
It's awesome. And if you didn't make it for the pre-show into our chat room here, we found out Maria just got a promotion. So congratulations. That's a really great thing.
Thank you.
Seriously. It is. It is one of those things that when I teach and talk about county employees, and it's really nice to do our own promoting from within and stuff like that. So congratulations. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you. I've learned a lot, and that it is a great thing about the county that the county teaches you and lets you grow and explore and move up. So it's one of the things I love about being a Broward County employee.
Yeah, it's been fun. I've been here for a few years. It's when you start counting them in decades instead of years, it's a bad thing. Or maybe it's a good thing. I don't know. We'll find out. But let's get off of this topic. Let's go bring up my search. Here we go. So, talking about our topics for the day, the first one that I needed to bring up was the Supreme Court search. The Supreme Court ruling, on all sorts of stuff that applies to. It'll apply to search in a roundabout way, is why I keep hitting that word. What happens is this you have copyright. Copyright protects you from somebody stealing your work and going off with it. You understand that, right, Maria? We're all
Yes.
used to dealing with copyright in the libraries, and we all have, you cannot copy this, and we've got signs by the copiers and stuff. Well, you can have something called fair use. And so fair use allows you to take a piece of something that is copyrighted and use it in your own derivative work. That's how parody works. That's how Weird Al has got his whole career of parodying songs by taking huge chunks of songs and stuff like that. In this case, this was Google versus Oracle, and it's been going on, this has been a decade, so this is not like a new news story. But one of the things about this, I'm going to scroll all the way down to the 4 factors of fair use. And the thing that's the key thing for this is the Supreme Court ruled or sidestepped the issue that whether you could copyright software or not. But they did say that you can do fair use with software, which is almost like saying it can be copyrighted, but you still get to allow other people to use it. And they put it into the category of a lesser thing. So if you take a novel, for example, and that novel is copyrighted, so I cannot go take 90% of your novel and make a few changes and qualify as fair use. And that's what they did here was they said that using this small section of code from Oracle was allowed for the Android operating system to work. Now, how deep into the weeds did you get, Maria?
Oh, I am fully in the weeds. I really wanted to know how much code we were talking about. So I looked up how much did they actually use. And when you look at it, they say 11,000 lines of code. And that to me sounds like this huge amount, but in reality, it's less than 0.4%
Yeah,
of the code. So it was such a
yeah.
tiny, tiny amount that I couldn't believe that this was even a case.
I know,
But
and it's one of those things. And part of the reason it's been a case is it's been ruled on both sides going up the ladder of all these appeals courts, and it's a really important case for software developers because if this would have been ruled that they couldn't use this, then an example, there's another article that has a great example on it from The Hill, and the example they used during court orders, I lost the actual picture here. It's okay, we'll come back to it. Is if you had copyrighted the QWERTY keyboard that we all use every day nowadays, or most people do. There are other variations. But if that had been allowed to be copyrighted, which is what Oracle was insisting that the way the keyboard's laid out is what they've copyrighted, then you would have only been able to use Oracle keyboards going forward forever. Which is
or
why,
pay.
Yeah, or pay them to for the right to use that kind of keyboard. So yeah, so it's not quite as fun of a topic sometimes, but this really gets into the how does the real world work and how can we make these, how do we get through these things so that other people can build the next piece. And we've talked about this several weeks ago with Clubhouse and how do you do a voice room and how it's not really that innovative, but they made it work somehow. And now somebody else has made another one that the copycat. They don't get to they don't get to copyright voice rooms, voice chat rooms, and nobody else can ever use them. So
Well, and it was really interesting too to see all of the other people who wrote amicus briefs, who actually supported one side of the other. So, for example, you have Microsoft that obviously supported Google because everybody uses these little pieces of code.
yeah,
Um, but the other groups that supported Oracle, I was shocked at. For example, the publishing industry supported Oracle, the music
yeah.
industry supported Oracle.
And they both held to that. Let me flip back over to that other article there. They both held over to that nature of the original copyright issue because they are afraid that this will open the floodgates to say, well, I only stole one verse of that person's song instead of the currently acceptable 6 seconds,
Right.
which is the generic thing for music. In case you didn't know that, you can borrow up to 6 seconds of a song. So yeah, that's why the publishing industry, they're afraid that people are going to find a loophole with this and try and take a section of a novel and now, oh well, no, I only took the first 3 books that Tolkien wrote, and I've expanded it out to 15 books, so now it's only a small part of what I wrote.
And it doesn't matter if it's everywhere because that's what this code is now, everywhere.
Yeah.
But what matters is its fair use. Well, did
Yep.
you know this one is actually directly related to libraries as well? Because guess who
Oh
else
yeah.
put in an amicus brief? The American Library Association actually supported Google on this one, which
Yeah.
was kind of hard to believe, but I can understand why.
Because as a semi gatekeeper, libraries have to be able to provide the information. And if we can't provide the information because we're prevented by copyright from copying it to give it to you, then you can't learn anything new to make a new work, which is the thing. Which brings us to the story you submitted today, which is a great thing. So the Louvre has created an entirely virtual collection. And by entirety, we mean the full thing. And if you have not had a chance to go hit this yet, you can. It is, you fill us in on this, Maria.
Well, currently the Louvre is closed, like all museums in France, due to the coronavirus, and they have used this time to digitize their entire collection. So you can literally see every single piece of art that is in the Louvre. We're talking over 400,000 pieces of art. Not only that, they created their own search engine for it, and you could also do it by gallery or by theme. So this is an impressive chunk of technology they use to create this, I guess, digital collection for us.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things is while this doesn't seem like it's a new idea, one of the reasons these things are just happening now is not only because of the pandemic, but because the scanning technology has grown leaps and bounds. Something we do here in Broward County Library, we have virtual RLink. We wanted to do that 6, 7 years ago, but it was going to be over $16,000 for the scanner to be able to scan the 3D objects like the Louvre did to do this. Now, a year and a half ago, the price of the scanners came down to under $3,000. So we could actually afford to get a scanner to start doing these things. We got a nice grant on it and did. So yeah, that's part of it is just as technology is advancing and moving, you can do this kind of stuff. If you've got a phone at home, experiment with your AR augmented reality settings because you can you might be able to scan your own house in your own room and just recreate it in AR and VR. It's a really interesting process now that's accelerated so much.
And just the availability to interact with these timeless artworks,
Yeah.
not just the Louvre, but so many other places, like you mentioned, Arlick. We This is available not just to us here in Broward County, but worldwide now. So it's another way of just bringing these closer to people and bringing us together, even though it's all virtually.
Yeah, and even as we move forward, we're not as virtual. It's still there to allow people to have access to it and be able to see and do these things. And it's not like this is going to go away after everybody's vaccinated. That now everybody will have access to see this, and I think it'll really bring home to people the difference in between here you are seeing this building or this piece of architecture when you've seen it in a million movies and you've seen it in a million pictures, but now when you're standing there in front of it, you really do get that different feeling. Like we were in Italy back in 2010, and we got a chance to see the Colosseum. We had a special tour guide who was writing a book about the Colosseum, and so he got us into the Colosseum before they opened it. And we were at the
Nice.
very top of the Colosseum looking down on all the cruise ship crowds flooding in, just like Roman citizens would have flooded in to come in and do and see as they would as the old 2,000 years ago, as they would have been flooding in, and to be there and see that in person is still going to be life changing for so many people. And so even though we have these virtually, no one's going to stop going. That's going to be fun. It's going to be a
Right.
great thing.
And like you had that wonderful experience, but there's so many people who don't even have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
But this is going to allow us all to see all the beautiful exhibits and the amazing paintings that are in the Louvre.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about it is if you see it online, you're actually going to get even more data because they've started to include data about the creation, the age, the type of collection it is. So you get when you are there virtually, you're going to get a lot more information than you would if you were in person. Not that I don't want to go to the Louvre. I
Yeah.
can't wait to
Oh,
see
yeah.
the Louvre.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's
Oh, it's
nice to
great.
have the
And
background.
somebody in the chat room's already been there and said that the painting for the Raft of the Medusa is beautiful. So that's an awesome thing. And speaking of history and going backwards, one of our other stories today, interesting tidbit here out of ecology for narwhal tusks. Now, narwhals are they have the large tusk coming out of their foreheads. It's an extra tooth. But one of the interesting things about it is just like fingernails or hair, they collect deposits and you can test them to see what's been happening over time with this animal. And so I just thought it was an interesting story to track to see. And here's a picture of some of the details of how it grows, just like a tree ring through there. How you can tell the diet of the animals by what they did there with their what they've been able to see through these cross sections, because they've been able to track, okay, these sorts of fish live in cold water and have a higher fat content and all these things. It's a really interesting story. And by the way, just to remind everybody, all the links to our stories will always get posted out. We post these stories up also onto Facebook and share all the links on Facebook if you're interested in following up a story and you can't find it in your general search. So you can find that kind of stuff out there for us. And then our last story of the day is this interesting thing here for robots. This is the cool one, isn't it?
Oh, I love the narwhals. I was fascinated by the narwhals, but the robots are amazing as well.
Go back to narwhals and fill me in on the narwhals there.
Okay, well, I think the narwhals, first of all, like you said, these narwhals have amazing tusks that we can read like tree reads. And the two things that are really cool about it is one, we can see what they ate and how it's changing.
Yeah.
And two, we can see what the chemicals elements that are in what they ate, how it impacts humans. For example, I relate everything back to me, okay?
Uh-huh.
The narwhals are getting a lot of mercury.
Yeah.
Where are they getting mercury from? The fish they're eating. And where are the fish getting mercury from? Well, obviously the pollutants. So this is my reasoning. Well, if the mercury is increasing in narwhals who eat fish, guess who else it's increasing in as well,
Uh-huh.
which would be humans.
Yep.
So it's kind of I think like the canary in a cage for the coal miners. This should be a
Yeah.
warning to us that we really need to pay attention to what's going into the ocean because we're seeing it now. This is a 50-year-old record here in this narwhal tooth, this narwhal tusk
Yeah.
that is warning us that climate change is having a huge impact on these animals, and it's gonna have a huge impact on us as well. Okay, so there's my
Yeah.
narwhal piece.
Nice. No, and that's good. And part of the reason these things are popping up also is, with global warming, with climate change, that, some of these things the oceans are changing, and we all have to be aware of what these possible changes are going to be. So, and some of those changes are these robots.
Oh yes, okay, the
Um,
cool, very cool robots, yes.
they're very cool robots. And the reason I thought this was an interesting story, I had to pause. It came out on April 1st. And I'm like, wait a minute, let me go find another version of this somewhere else on a different day to see, is this real? And it is real. This is a real story, folks. So, but one of the things that I found that I liked about this is it's just how we use technology and how it changes, and how we don't always think about the idea that we're not trying to recreate humans. We're not trying to recreate what we do. We can make it better. We can make it different. We can come up with something that will be a slightly different way. And this is a good instance of creating the eyes, quote unquote, of a robot that can see through the litter pile, not because it's got better vision recognition using deep learning or AI type technology to learn how to recognize wrinkles and stuff better. Just put a different set of eyes on the thing so it can just use radio frequencies to scan right through the garbage. It can X-ray. It can do all these things.
It's amazing, and I was thinking about not just, I mean, I think this one is a very manufacturing oriented task, but I was thinking, how can we apply this again to humans? It always comes back, and I thought, wow, what if we can use this technology to assist with search and rescue efforts, like after earthquakes or after a hurricane in Florida, and find a way to look under rubble, for example, and let the robots do it instead of humans in dangerous situations. And I think this technology is amazing, and there's so many cool implications for it in the future and applications as well.
Yeah. And it's going to be something that's going to definitely change how people think about these devices, for that. So it's going to be really interesting to see where we go on that. Now, we always try to leave you with a fun, cool library tidbit. And today, Maria brought us a really interesting one, something that's out there from the library. If you come here to the library website and you follow through all of our online resources, and when you do the A to Z resources, or you come down to Gale, I tend to always just go to A to Z. Where's my A to Z? Here it is. And I come down here to Gale, and I go through the Gale courses and Gale research databases and things like that. Instead of digging through all those things, I brought it up for you. So Maria, tell us about this one right here.
Okay, so this is Informe Académico. So one of the things I love keeping up on is technology from around the world, and I'm from Mexico and I speak Spanish. So this one actually is a way for me to access technology and what's happening in Spanish-speaking countries. So one of the things and it's also bilingual, so it's not just in Spanish, but you can look up like the Latin Times, America Latina Hoy, the Americas, which is a periodical done by the Organization of American States that has some technology review in it, the American Experience from PBS, and Hispanic Times. But this is how I keep up on my tech news that is happening in Latin America or the Spanish-speaking world. So it's got over 1,000 different Spanish magazines on it, and half of those are focused on science, whether it's health sciences or behavioral sciences or technology and
Yeah,
information sciences. So of course I use the tech ones, but there's lots of really cool stuff on it.
my wife's from Puerto Rico, and I try to grab articles from here every once in a while to try and get her to understand this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, like I said, over 1,000 different magazines from every single Spanish-speaking country. So it's a great
Yeah.
way to keep up, even with non-tech newspapers and magazines in Spanish. And there's also Portuguese in it as well. So
Yeah, and the
those
library,
people who are,
we've tried to reach out to a lot of those things too. So we
mhm.
are trying to make sure of that. Just to wrap up today, we did have a couple comments in chat about the robotic story too, about the idea that, yeah, using computer vision with different frequencies is an old hat idea. And that's true. I mean, that's one of the things that's been easy to do, and now it's being able to be combined. When you get a chance to look at that story there, it's using the different uh, wavelength technologies, because as our person in the chat pointed out, some frequencies can only go through so far. That's why we have X-rays and all these other types of things. So yeah, it's the combination of mixing all those things together. It's a really fun thing. Thank you so much, Miss Maria, for being here with us today.
Oh, anytime. I'm so
What's going
happy.
on what's going on up there at Northwest Regional?
Well, we're excited to be open and get customers in. We're attached to a school, so we're really happy to have the students coming back to school. Uh, we miss our patrons, and we want everybody to stay healthy and safe, but we're excited to see people coming in again. So,
Yeah, it seems like all the buildings here are getting more and more people in them over time here. So it's,
mhm.
as everybody's getting safe, hopefully everybody will be safe, get vaccinated. We'll all be able to have some really fun things. We've got some great stuff planned for the summer, no matter whether it's virtual or in person.
Right. And actually, April, we're getting ready to do on April 30th, Dia de Libros, Dia de Niños, which is a program
Hey,
celebrating books and
yeah.
children.
Uh-huh.
We're doing it online, so that's April 30th, and then summer readings coming up. So we're going to
Yeah.
have all sorts of programs for adults and children and teens
Yeah.
system-wide. So
And you'll be able to find those out for everybody. Broward.org/library/events takes you to the event calendar, and you can search and look on the calendar there for all of these types of events. Register for them. Make sure that you got a link to remind you of when they are out there. Once again, thank you so much for being here. Let me put up a final slide here for this. Thank you guys all very much for coming in for Tech Talk Weekly. As always, if you have a favorite librarian you want me to feature, you want to feature a library, or if you have news stories you want us to talk about, email us creationstation@broward.org, and we'll see you next week. Have a great day, everybody.
bye.